For 3 weeks, I woke up every night at exactly 3 o'clock a.m. At first, it didn't seem like anything, but every morning, something in the house was slightly different. A chair moved, a light turned off, a door left open, and on the 21st night, I finally understood. It wasn't random. Someone had been inside the house. My name doesn't matter, but I was 22 at the time. I had just moved back in with my parents after finishing university. It was supposed to be temporary just until I found a job and my own place. They lived in a 2-story house outside the city. I grew up there. I knew every sound that house could make, every creak, every shift in the walls. And my parents traveled a lot for work. Sometimes they were gone for days, so being alone in that house was normal. The first time I woke up, it was 3:04 a.m. No sound. No reason. I just opened my eyes in the dark. I laid there for a minute, listening. Nothing. Then I rolled over and went back to sleep. The next night, the same thing happened, right around 3 o'clock. I didn't think much of it. Maybe my body clock was off. Maybe I had a bad dream. But on the third night, I heard something downstairs. I couldn't tell exactly where from the kitchen or the hallway. Just a soft sound, like something being placed gently on a surface. One small noise, then silence. I stayed awake for 20 minutes. Nothing else happened, so I convinced myself it was the house. Old wood, pipes, temperature changes. Houses make noise. That's what I told myself. But then it kept happening. Night 5, night 7, night 10, every time around 3 o'clock a.m. Sometimes there was a sound, sometimes there wasn't, but every time, something felt off, and then I started noticing things in the morning, small things. A chair in the kitchen pulled slightly away from the table. I always push the chairs back in. Always. It's automatic. But in the morning, one of them would be out. Not much. Just enough. One morning, the hallway nightlight was off. I clearly remembered leaving it on. Another time, a jar on the counter was open. I knew I had closed it. I called my mom. She said, I was just tired. My dad said the same thing, and honestly, it sounded ridiculous even to me. A chair, a light, a jar. That's not proof. On the 14th night, I woke up again, 3 a.m., and my bedroom door was open. I'd always close it, every night, but it was open, and the hallway outside was completely dark. I just laid there, staring at it, at the darkness, and for a moment, it felt like the darkness was staring back. That was the first time I actually got up. I grabbed my phone and walked through the house. The first floor empty, the basement locked. The door hadn't been touched. The attic dash closed. No one, nothing. After that, I almost convinced myself I was imagining everything. Almost. Until the 21st night, I woke up again. 3 a.m., and immediately, I felt it. The air was colder. My window was open, not fully, just slightly. A small gap. It was early spring, about 5 degrees outside. I never sleep with the window open in that weather. Never. Got up slowly, walked over, and that's when I saw it. On the outside of the windowsill, there was a HANDPRINT. Clear, pressed into the dust. Someone had been holding on to the edge. From outside, my room was on the 2nd floor. I just stood there, staring at it, and in that moment, everything connected. 3 weeks of waking up at 3 o'clock. The chair, the light. The door, the sounds. Someone had been coming into the house. Regularly, while I was asleep, and they weren't taking anything. They were just there. I called my dad at 3:30 in the morning, told him everything. He came the next day. We checked the house together, and in the basement, we found it. A small window. The latch was broken. We didn't even know how long it had been like that, but it was just big enough for someone to get inside. We called the police. They took a report, looked around, but they didn't find anyone. After that, my parents installed cameras, and something strange happened. The 3 a.m. wake-ups stopped completely. No more sounds, no more moved furniture, nothing. Either he saw the cameras, or he just decided to stop. I don't know which is worse, but the part that still stays with me is this. How long had it been happening before I noticed? How many nights was someone inside that house while I was asleep, standing somewhere in the dark, watching and doing nothing? That's the part I can't explain, and honestly, I'm not sure I want to. I didn't wake up on my own. Something in my room woke me. I remember checking my phone, 3:17 a.m. I was completely still, because I could already feel it. That feeling, when you know there's someone else in the room. It wasn't a sound at first. It was a pressure, like the air had shifted, like the darkness itself had weight. My chest felt tight before I even understood why. I didn't move. I just listened, and then I heard it breathing slow quiet right next to my bed, not across the room, not outside, right there, close, enough that I felt like if I moved even slightly, I'd touch it. I stopped breathing completely, and it didn't stop. One inhale, then another, steady, calm, controlled, like whoever it was wasn't afraid, like whoever it was belonged there. My phone was on the nightstand. I reached for it slowly, barely moving my arm. Every tiny movement felt too loud in the silence. The breathing didn't change. That made it worse. I turned on the flashlight and pointed it across the room. Nothing, just my desk, my chair, my clothes, empty, but the feeling didn't go away. I sat up, trying to make sense of it. That's when I saw the door. It was open, just a few inches. I'd always close it, every night, no exceptions. But now, it was open, and I could see the hallway light, cutting into the darkness. I stared at it for a few seconds too long. Something about it felt wrong, like it hadn't just opened, like it had been left that way. I got out of bed. The floor felt colder than usual. Every step felt too loud. I opened the door fully. The hallway was empty. Front door locked. Kitchen empty. Bathroom empty. I checked everything. Twice. Slower. The second time, nothing, no one. Eventually, I went back to my room, sat on the edge of my bed, right where I had heard it, trying to convince myself it was a dream, that I imagined it, that there was nothing there. But I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, I was leaving for work, and I saw it immediately, right by the front door. A footprint, wet, long, narrow, not mine. The shape was wrong, too stretched, too thin. I just stood there staring at it. It hadn't rained in days. I always take my shoes off at the door. I would remember. I checked my shoes anyway. Dry, clean, I looked back at the footprint. There was only one, just one. Like someone stepped inside and stopped. I called my mom, told her everything. She said I was just tired, that I probably dreamed it. And I tried to believe that. I really did. But I know what I heard. Someone was breathing in my room that night, and whoever it was stood inside my apartment, right by the front door, wearing wet shoes. I moved out a month later, not because of work, because I couldn't sleep anymore. Every night, I would lie there, listening, waiting, hoping I wouldn't hear it again. He said the car just died. No warning, no sound. And when the headlights shifted toward the trees, someone was already standing there. A friend of mine told me this story. I'll call him Ethan. He doesn't like talking about it at all. It took me almost a year to get the full story out of him. And when he finally did, I understood why. He was 18 at the time. He and his dad were driving back from their summer house. It was a normal trip. They had taken that road many times, highway, then a narrow dirt road through the forest, and eventually back to the main road. His dad knew it by heart. Ethan was half asleep in the passenger seat. Somewhere in the middle of that forest road, the car just stopped. Not slowly, it just shut off. like someone flipped a switch. His dad cursed quietly and turned the key. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. No signal. No other cars. Just darkness and trees on both sides. His dad sighed and said, "Stay in the car. I'll check the engine." Then he stepped out. Now Ethan was alone. The silence inside the car felt heavy. The windows had started to fog up slightly, so he wiped the glass with his hand just enough to see outside, to make sure his dad was okay. But instead, his eyes went past him into the trees, and that's when he saw her, about 15 meters away, deeper in the forest, standing between the trees. A woman, completely still, just staring directly at the car. Ethan said his first thought was that she needed help. Maybe she was lost. That's how your brain works. It tries to make things normal. He reached for the door handle, opened it, just slightly, and then she moved. One step, slow, deliberate, like she wanted him to see it. Ethan said. Something in his body reacted before he even had time to think. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and started yelling for his dad. His dad came back quickly, got into the driver's seat. "What's wrong?" Ethan couldn't explain it. He just kept saying, "Drive, please, just drive." His dad looked at him for a second, then turned the key, and the car started immediately, like nothing had ever been wrong. They pulled away. Ethan didn't look back. They drove in silence for about 10 minutes. Then his dad said something, quietly. "I didn't see anything." Not a question, a statement. And that's the part Ethan can't forget. Not the woman, that sentence. Because he still doesn't know, did his dad really not see her? Or did he see her and choose not to say it? Ethan told me, "I don't know what would have happened if I opened that door, but something in me knew not to." They never took that road again, and they never talked about that night. Some things don't need to be explained, because your body understands them before your mind ever does.